Okay, this is gonna be a demonstration for uh, the introduction to Photoshop using the adjustments panel, history, and frame tool. All right, so first things first is you gotta make sure to get your photos. Um, mainly you're gonna get your photos either through the Google Classroom or Google Drive. Now I have my photos that are set here though that I've downloaded from Google Drive. I'm actually gonna use one of these two photos here. It's a picture of a flower and one of my daughter here. I'm actually gonna use this one here. So no, I purposely picked these photos because the lighting is not as good. So you can see like the biggest impact that Photoshop can have toward your photos. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go to the file. This is under like the downloads folder, but I'm just under the recents, and I'm just gonna click and drag this photo onto Photoshop. So wait for it to load. It's in Photoshop now. All right, so a couple of things you can do in Photoshop is, very first thing you want to do or you want to mess around with is the frame tool. So this is the frame tool. Or they call it the crop tool. Crop frame tool, same thing. But you click on this, and basically, if you need to, cut apart the image, so I can kind of crop in closer to the face here. Just either double click or click on this check. So if you double click here, it's going to cut the picture. Also, you click on the check on the top, that'll fix it too. Now, if you want to cancel the crop, you don't want to do it. You click on this button to cancel it. For this particular photo, though, I don't really need to crop anything. But if you have like things around the edges or distractions in the background that you may need to cut out, you can cut out those things in the picture. So I'm just gonna crop it in a little bit closer on, and I'm just doing Command Z as in 0 to kind of like undo and redo, um, like what I've done. So it's kind of like nice to see like the difference between like before and then after. So so that's the crop tool, and mainly what you're gonna be working on today is it's gonna be the adjustments panel. So I'm gonna go to Windows Adjustments. I don't have my adjustments panel open, so that's the way I'm gonna get to Windows Adjustments. Now there's a lot of different buttons you can kind of like click on and play around with. Mainly we're just gonna be working on the brightness and contrast, hue saturations, and color balance. Okay, you have some free time that you can kind of mess around with the other ones. Oh, we'll also go over the gradient tool too. So first thing is you want to click on brightness and contrast. Brightness and contrast. So this is going to adjust your brightness and contrast. So brightness is going to be your lights and darks. Contrast is going to be like the extreme darks and lights. So if it's higher, it's going to go more you have extreme more blacks and whites. The other is going to kind of gray out the picture. So again, like your brightness and contrast will vary from photo to photo, and in some cases, you may not even need to change much of the picture. If you have like really good lighting in the picture, then you probably don't need to move this so far. I'm actually going to brighten this picture up a little bit more. The only reason is because anytime you take like indoor photos, like this is kind of like still considered indoor, even though there's a window here, but the window's kind of like blocked off. I'm going to brighten up the picture a little bit more. So I'm just running up to the point where I'm seeing a little bit more details in those darker areas, but I'm not going over too far where it's just hurting your eyes with the bright white here. So you have to find that balance though between like your brightness and then the contrast. And obviously, if it's too bright outside, you can darken the picture, but we're going to go this way though. I'm gonna do 54 here. Contrast, I'm looking at it. I might bump up the contrast a little bit, but not too much. So with your contrast, though, you don't want to go like extreme darks and whites because now I'm losing the details on the window back here. I'm actually gonna lower a little bit. Like right here is pretty good. So I'm gonna do 54 and 39, and then obviously it's gonna gray out, but we want to pop out those lights and darks a little bit. So you want to still keep your details in the whites, but you also want to like pop out those darks in your picture. All right, so this is pretty good, 54, 33. And again, if you want to see the changes that you made, you would go to the layers window. So you go Windows, layers, if this isn't popping up. and you would just click on this eyeball here to see the changes that I've made. So it could be a little bit lighter. It's a little too bright. This is like a big improvement though from like the last picture. So any of those photos that you don't have like really good lighting, you can use the brightness and contrast to fix that problem. All right, and then the next thing you can do too is you can change the color balance. So color balance is going to change your colors a little bit, but it's still going to keep like the same tones in the picture. So you can make more of like a red picture, or you can make it more green. I'm gonna make it a little bit more red, and if you adjust these other ones, it's gonna like change the colors even more. So I'll make it a little bit more orange in this picture. Give it like more of like a warmer tone. Usually we associate babies and kids with warmer colors. So this is only controlling the midtones, but if you really wanted to like change the tones, you can change your shadows. You can change the highlights. So this is kind of like one of those ones you have to play around with to get like an effect that you want. But it's not gonna really change the colors too much, but it's just like enough though that you can see a difference though. So if I click on the eyeball, this is like what it looks before and after. So I like these changes that we made. All right, so that's color balance, and then if you for hue and saturation, this is what's going to change your color. So if you want to go like extreme with the colors, you can kind of like make a green baby, like make blue. So this is like if you want to go like really crazy with the colors, but in this case though, we're not going to go too crazy. But maybe I might change it a little bit though, just to give it like a slight change. But even -1, that's like nothing really. Saturation. So this is going to control like how vibrant your colors are. So on one extreme, it's going to make it super bright, or it's going to make it super rich. The colors are going to be really rich, and the other way is going to literally make it black and white if you go the opposite end. So like right here, maybe I might lower it a little bit just because I think when I did the color balance, the colors got a little extreme. And then if you want to create more of like a lighter tone for the picture, you can use the lightness for that or darker. There's gonna be a reason why we would do this. This is like for like text though. If you want to like do like a white text to make this readable, or the opposite, you want to do something dark. But when we go over like the quote photos project, it'll make more sense why you would use the lightness and darkness. So real small changes though that we made. I just made it a little bit darker, this picture. All right, and then lastly, and this is all like experimental at this point now. Um, you can use the gradient map. So gradient map's going to literally just change how that color looks. So this is using just black and white tones. This one's using purple, orange. This one's going a little crazy with the colors. These are like default ones that are used, but you can actually change these colors the way that you want. So if you don't want to do like black and white, you can change this to a dark blue. You can add midtones to it. So if you want to do like more of like a lighter green, maybe a yellow. You can really play around with these colors, get like some different effects. And then, if you don't want it that extreme, you can always change the opacity as well. So let's just do like a slight color to your picture. Those are just a couple things I wanted to show you guys in Photoshop. And even like after you've done all these things, you can always go back and change and adjust these things. So I can go back to my brightness. Maybe now I might want to bump up the contrast even more. Maybe this. So maybe I might want to get those details out just to pop out the picture more. And I feel like the details aren't that important. It's mostly the portrait. But yeah, that's kind of like what the Photoshop does, though. It just helps to kind of like, adjust your photos, make them look a little bit nicer. All right.